Most students believe university is supposed to be financially painful. You study all day, work exhausting part-time jobs at night, and somehow still struggle to survive. But over the last few years, something changed. A new type of student quietly emerged. Students making money online while studying full-time. Students building freelance businesses from their dorm rooms. Students monetizing skills before even graduating. And the scary part? Many of them are making more money than graduates already working full-time jobs. So the question becomes, how are they doing it? And more importantly, how can an ordinary student realistically make $5,000 during the academic year without destroying their GPA? Because contrary to what social media tells you, this is not about hustle culture, it's about strategy. Most people view university as a 4-year intellectual vacation, a period of life where you are supposed to find yourself, make friends, attend lectures occasionally, and slowly transition into adulthood. And for a long time, that narrative worked. But today, it is outdated. Because the modern student is not operating in the same environment as even a decade ago. We are now in a situation where tuition is increasing, rent is increasing, and the cost of living is rising faster than most entry-level salaries. And as a result, a new category of student has quietly emerged, the professionalized student. Now, this does not mean becoming obsessed with money or turning your life into a constant hustle. That is the misunderstanding most people have. Instead, it means something far more structured. It means recognizing that university is not just an academic system, it is also an economic ecosystem. And inside that ecosystem, students are constantly making decisions that either build future leverage or waste it. Most students do not notice this at all. They think, I need a part-time job. But they never ask, what kind of job actually improves my long-term value? So they end up in low-wage service work, restaurants, retail, delivery apps, coffee shops. And while these jobs are not bad, they share one major limitation. They do not scale. You trade hours for money, and when your hours stop, your income stops. That is the fundamental problem. So in this video, we are going to break down a completely different system, a system where a student can realistically generate $5,000 during an academic year without destroying their GPA and without sacrificing their health or identity. And the key idea is this: stop thinking like a worker, start thinking like a system builder. For decades, student income followed a predictable path. You worked when you were free, you earned what you were paid, and that was it. But there is a hidden problem in that model. It ignores opportunity cost. Because every hour spent on low-skill labor is not just an hour of income, it is an hour not spent building higher-value capability, and this is where most students unknowingly lose long-term ground. Now contrast this with the modern internet economy. For the first time in history, students are no longer limited by geography. You are no longer restricted to local wages or local demand. A student in a dorm room can now access global markets. That means you can design for a client in another country, edit videos for a startup overseas, write content for international businesses, tutor students online globally, or build digital products that scale worldwide. All from a laptop. This is not a small shift. This is a structural economic change. Because now income is no longer tied to physical labor or location, it is tied to skill visibility. And that changes the entire equation of what it means to work as a student. Now let's break down the first pillar, skill arbitrage. This is the idea of taking skills you are already developing and selling them in a market that values them significantly more. But there is a deeper layer here that most students miss. Not all skills are priced equally. The market rewards clarity, specialization, and outcomes, not effort. For example, a student working a retail job might earn $12 per hour, but a student offering a specific digital service can earn $30, $50, or even $80 per hour. Now let's make this real. Imagine a computer science student. Instead of working a cafe job, They build simple websites for small businesses. A single website project might take a few hours, but can be worth hundreds of dollars. Now imagine a design student. Instead of random freelance tasks, they focus only on branding packages for startups. Now imagine a biology student. They summarize complex research papers into clean, readable reports for biotech companies or university labs. And here is the key insight. You are not working extra. You are compressing academic knowledge into market value. Now let's quantify this properly. At $50 per hour, you need 100 hours to reach $5,000. That is roughly 6 hours per week over a semester. Now pause and think about that. 6 hours per week is less than most students spend watching short-form content in a single day. Now compare that to traditional jobs. At $15 per hour, you need over 330 hours to reach the same income. That is 3 times the time investment. And that time difference is not just convenience, it is life structure. Because time determines stress levels, academic performance, sleep quality, and future skill development. So in this system, the real advantage is not just money, it is control over your time. Now we move to the second pillar, digital assets. This is where things become significantly more powerful because freelancing still has a limit. You are still tied to time. So the next evolution is removing time from the equation entirely. A digital asset is something you create once and sell multiple times. Examples include study guides, Notion systems, revision sheets, productivity templates, AI prompt packs, coding tools, design assets, educational PDFs. Now here is the deeper idea. Most students are already doing the work required to create these products. They are already organizing notes, summarizing lectures, structuring information, building study systems. The only difference is packaging. Instead of keeping this knowledge private, you turn it into a structured product. And suddenly something important happens. Your academic effort becomes monetized. And unlike physical products, there is no inventory, no shipping, no production limit. One file can generate 10 sales, 100 sales, or even 1,000 sales. This is what makes digital assets powerful, not the creation, but the replication. And this is where students start to separate themselves from traditional labor entirely, because now income is no longer linear, it becomes partially exponential. Now let's talk about something most students ignore completely, the university itself. Most students think of university as an expense, but internally it is a resource system. Research assistantships, innovation labs, scholarship programs, startup incubators, pitch competitions. These are all forms of capital distribution, and most of them go unused, not because students are unqualified, but because they assume they are. A research assistantship does more than provide income. It gives you mentorship, experience, academic credibility, network access. And those benefits compound far beyond the immediate payment. Now let's bring everything together. A realistic student strategy might include freelancing income, campus income, digital products. Combined, this can realistically reach $5,000 over a semester. But here is the critical warning. Optimization has a cost, because it is easy to fall into overworking, and when students exceed 20-plus hours per week of side income consistently, something breaks. Sleep declines, grades drop, mental performance suffers. So the goal is not maximum income. The goal is sustainable structure. Because earning $3,000 with strong academic performance is far more valuable long-term than $5,000 with burnout. So here is the real conclusion. Making money as a student is not about grinding harder. It is about thinking differently. It is about understanding where value exists and positioning yourself inside it. Because university is one of the few environments in life where you have time, access, mentorship, and freedom to experiment. And students who understand this early do not just graduate with a degree, they graduate with leverage, skills, experience, momentum, and in the modern economy, That combination matters far more than grades alone, and if you really think about it. The biggest difference between struggling students and financially stable students is not intelligence, it is awareness. Awareness of how value is created, awareness of how skills translate into income, and awareness of how to position yourself early instead of reacting late. Because in 5 years, the students who started building even small skills today will not just be earning more money, they will have options. And in the real world, options are everything.